Hello, 1DLA family and friends. Hello, 1DLA family and friends. I'm Brenda Schaefer with One Voice Leadership Academy, and I am here to talk to you about our open membership, which will close tomorrow at midnight. But Scott and I thought we probably needed to introduce ourselves and tell you a little bit about our background that got us to where we are today so that you can understand that we're not coming from a place of where we want to talk at you. We want to learn and grow with you, sharing with you from the things that we have succeeded in, that we have failed at, opportunities that we've been able to take hold of, challenges that we faced along the way. And I've been doing this for a little while, and you are qualified to teach your children. I've done this at several Facebook live streams to try to encourage parents. The backstory for the immediate part of that was that I had heard a couple of parents say on the radio when the coronavirus quarantine started that they were just feeling unqualified to teach their children and very upset, feeling overwhelmed and overburdened. That just kind of triggered it for me, but that's not the backstory. The backstory is one that comes from when we had our first child. But I'm even going to go back just a little bit further because I want to talk about what my plan was versus what wasn't my plan and how we navigated those transitional seasons, because I'll be talking about that inside the membership and part of our character building life masterclass. So let me take you back to when I was graduating high school. I had already figured out what I wanted to do. I was planning to go to a community college for a couple of years and getting my requireds out of the way. And then I was going to transition to an out-of-state university. I believe it was Indiana University I was planning to go to in Bloomington, Indiana. They have a good business school, and I was planning to go for corporate law. Well, in the first semester at the community college, I met my husband. I fell in love. 15 months later, we got married, and that was 38 years ago, so he's put up with me for that long. But beyond that, 3 years after we got married, we had our first child. Leading up to that, my husband, we thought he was going to get a recording contract, so we were talking about our school options. But we didn't anticipate the challenges that would come leading up to the birth of our first child. I was still planning on being a working girl. I was working at a bank at that time, and I enjoyed it. I was taking banking classes to get my associate's degree in banking. So you've already heard of a transitional season there. My plan had to shift after I got married, and my plan was to stay working at the bank full time after we had our first child. I wanted to work right up to my delivery date, my due date, and the truth is I did. She was 9 days late, and my water broke while I was at work. A little embarrassing, but we still took care of it. We decided to drive to where the hospital was, which was 30 minutes away, and my parents lived near the hospital, so we decided to try laboring there for a little while. Anyway, we had a bunch of challenges and circumstances, to say the very least. We had a lot of difficulties. We had 26 hours of labor with little to no progress. And it turned out that my blood pressure was soaring, and I had been diagnosed with preeclampsia, and both me and our baby were at risk. And it didn't look like either one of us were going to make it. So they had decided to do an emergency C-section with the hope of saving both of us. And so we went through all of that. When she was born, my husband was in there gowned up and masked up, as you would expect. And I was expecting to be able to hold my baby right away, but they rushed her out and rushed my husband out right away after they told me I had a girl. And I don't remember anything other than waking up in recovery all by myself, all alone. And I did not know it that our little girl was fighting for her life. She had a doctor and 7 nurses working on her, and my husband was watching through a window, and he didn't know how bad I was. With all that trauma, my body endured a lot, and I got an infection. Thankfully, I did not stroke. But with that infection, I was not able to hold my baby or have her near me for the first 5 days of her life. And that was extremely emotional. I was in a lot of pain. I kept spiking fevers. The infection had not been identified. Oh, you see Snickers in the background. The infection had not been identified, and it was just a very difficult and emotional time. So I say all that to say that that was not my plan. And we were told that if our daughter survived at all, that she would be very most likely disabled in every way and very slow. And that was definitely not my plan. And it was very upsetting to us. So when we finally got to come home from the hospital, we got a clean bill of health for me and for her. The medical staff did a great job bringing us back and putting us back together. And thank the Lord, Tara, our baby girl, was healthy and whole with no delays in growth or development. She is just amazing, and a full-grown woman now and a mother herself. So I say all that to say because those things were definitely not in my plan. But when we got home, I decided the thought of going back to work was more than I could bear. I did not know how that was going to affect our income. So we put the pencil to the paper, and Scott agreed that at the end of the day, I was only making $25 a month by the time we paid all of our expenses. So it really wasn't worth it for me to not be home with our daughter. And we felt that was the absolute best scenario. So what we did was I stayed home. Definitely not in my plan. Remember, I was going to go back to work. I was going to continue on with my career. So that came with a new set of challenges, more transitional seasons, transitioning from being a full-time outside of the home worker to being a full-time stay-at-home wife and mom, something I had never been before. And I have a lot to learn. And I talk about this in my blog that I published today about structure, the importance of structure. I had to learn how to get control of my time and be the CEO of our home. It's still a very difficult job, and it's one that goes without recognition much of the time. And sometimes we are unappreciated, underappreciated, and overwhelmed, overburdened, and feeling out of control much of the time. And so when I heard those parents talking about it, I could really identify with how it was when I first became a parent. And then when we decided to homeschool, it looked like Scott was going to get a recording contract, and we decided we were going to travel with him. And so to do that, we had to make some decisions. I didn't know what homeschooling was. So even though you are qualified to teach your children, it was just kind of a trigger point for me to get started on talking about the importance and the value that a parent has in the life of their child and shaping and developing that character. That is the most important thing. Whether you send them to public school, private school, or whether you teach them at home, character building is your responsibility. And that's why we've started the Character Building Life Masterclass. I have really worked hard at this in our own family since we did homeschool all three of them all the way through. And we have some stories that are funny. We have some stories that are sad. We have some stories that are painful. We have a lot of change that went on because after our third daughter was born, my husband went full-time into ministry, and that was something I hadn't planned on. I think I would have freaked out if somebody had told me when we got married that I was going to be a pastor's wife one day. So I say all this because I just want to be a blessing. I want to encourage you that I'm coming from a place of relatability. Even though I'm on the other side of things now, I can speak from a place of experience and hindsight. Hindsight is 20/20 because you can talk about your failures with a greater vision than you could when you were walking through those issues. So I hope that this has been helpful in helping you understand. I hope you will go to onebla.com and check us out, read the blogs, and listen to the podcast. Those are free and available. You can browse the website. We're still developing it. My husband will be doing a praise and worship masterclass, and I will be in a praise and worship masterclass and vocal training and character building life masterclass. And we have mapped out a journey and a success path to help you get from where you are to where you want to be by recognizing what matters most to you. For me, it was that my family was first. When I didn't know if I was going to make it or if my daughter was going to make it, that became the most important thing in my life that I wanted more than anything else is our family intact. And then to build that family with a foundation of love. And one of the goals for our family was peace in our home. So these are the kinds of things we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about integrity as a character value, if that's important to you, letting your words and your talk match. that builds trust. And all the character values we're going to be talking about will be from a biblical value system, so that we can build a strong, secure foundation for you and your children and your spouse, that will keep them strong in the times when they endure challenges like I did that weren't in my plan, or like you did that you could probably talk about, because there are going to be hard times for them. There are going to be challenges that are going to come their way. There are going to be hardships they'll suffer. And depending on what you build into their character, it will determine how they come out on the other side of it. So this all comes from a place of love and personal experience and personal testimony, and I'll be sharing it from that place. So thank you for tuning in, and go check us out at onedla.com. If you have questions, you can leave those in the remarks, and or you could message me, Brenda, at onedla.com. I'd be happy to visit with you. Tomorrow will be our last day. We close the membership at midnight, and haven't scheduled the next one completely yet. We haven't got that far out, but we hope that you will do life together with us, and that we will be able to be a part of your journey and be a source of strength and encouragement for you. We at One Voice Leadership Academy, we want to help build people of faith through courses, training, and coaching. And so there will be the coaching element involved in this. So we will help go through these transitional seasons with you as you learn these principles and put them to work. So God bless you. Have a great night, and we will talk to you soon.